they'll lynch you. But he did, and he laughs at
Hey, hi everybody, Russ and the West Ham Network. Hope you're all safe and well wherever you're watching on YouTube or you're watching on TikTok. Russ on the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. We are seconds away, not seconds, but we're getting very, very close to that 20,000 subscribers on YouTube, which is mental, But as we tend to do on a Thursday during the summer transfer window and the winter transfer window, we do a roundup. We've got some more coming up later on. Hammers headlines in association with the KUMB.com boys. Where we talk about a few more rumours. But what we do is we give you sort of a synopsis of the latest rumours, the latest news, and then get your views on YouTube and TikTok. And also we give you my ratings as well. Let's see what you got on the chat on YouTube. Scott, hope you're well. 5:30 here in Canada, obviously. Any news on Rice? No news on Rice. Is that no news is good news? No, not usually. No news on Declan Rice. Myself and Anton and Dan did a show yesterday called Question Time. Actually, I think one of your questions asked. No, I don't think it was Scott. Might have been. But what we did do was we actually put together, our thoughts around Declan Rice. This morning I did a show about Declan Rice, about my thoughts about him leaving, and we also put a thing up. I put it on Twitter, on TikTok as well, from as a YouTube short from Chris Ross, the East End poet. Nice little sort of what's it called? A poem, an ode to Declan Rice, which was quite sweet. But no news. So Andy, hope you're well. Matt's here. We're going to war. It's 1939, says GP. We've got Terry the Butcher, Bakeway Norwich in the TikTok. Hope you're well, mate. No more years, Declan Rice. No more years indeed. Crazy times indeed. We're going to talk about Alex Scott as well. Duke's in the house. Evening, Alan. Hope you're well. 9:30. So you're one side. We got Scott. It's about 5:30 in the morning. It's 9:30 where you are, and that's it. That's great. Love it. Monster Factory, hope you're well. We're doing if we are to build a team around, right? If we were to build, we're not going to. We need at least two to build around Paquetá, which means Suchek needs to go. So I want him to go. We're going to be talking about it in a minute. Yep, we're going to be talking about that. I think our priority will be as a midfield or two. Go and check out my video I did about Declan Rice this morning, because I asked, what's the one player you want to sign? Who's your first signing? By all accounts, Tim Steindon, the technical director, will be working from tomorrow. Starts work tomorrow, which is nice for a minute. So we'll come back to that and see what we can do. Any news on Paquetá? Terry's asked the same question on from Bakeway Norwich on the old TikTok. No news. He has. I mean, he's changed agents, but then players change agents all the time. Obviously, PSG, there was talk of PSG. There was obviously talk before of Newcastle. Well, I think the Newcastle deal was probably trying to push through the Tonoli deal for them. So we'll see. But no news. Personally, I can't see them selling him as well as Rice, but I've read an article that says he's got a what's it called, a release clause in his contract. I don't know if it's true or not. I just read it. Afternoon, Pete. Looking for on various, you would think that Rice was folding. The club was folding just because Rice is leaving. Indeed, big rebuild or bug rebuild from Alex. It certainly is. GC Garage, hope you're well. Oh, loads of people coming in. I'm sorry if I missed anyone. But Charlie, Harry, hope you're well. Michael, Fremer, hope you're well. Right, let's crack on. Who we got Ricky on TikTok says thanks for Rice. Thanks for the £105 million as well, mate. Hey, at the end of the day, whatever happens, we've come out of that smelling of roses. I generally think we do. £105 million. He's the most expensive British player ever. He's the second highest Premier League signing of all time, and I think the seventh of all time in terms of transfer, I think he's between Antoine Griezmann and Jack Grealish. That's mental. That's mental. Just thinking about it, that is crazy, isn't it? In terms of the amount of money, £105 million. We're never going to see the likes of that again. Not for a long time, I'd imagine, in terms of seeing players coming in or selling players to that level. So it was right. Okay, let's crack on. As I said, what we do is we're going to go through some of the latest rumours, give you the latest of what we've heard, what we've read. Let's start with Alex Scott. So Alex Scott, the Bristol City starlet. Dan is very hot on him. I'm very hot on him as well. I think he's a fantastic player. Now, according to the Evening Standard, a report in the Evening Standard, West Ham have ramped up their interest in signing him by holding talks with the 19-year-old, apparently. He claims that the Hammers have had talks with Scott, although the outcome of those talks is unclear. But the discussions have been made, and they have apparently been made yesterday, probably in relation to us sort of accept. We haven't actually 100% accepted the Rice deal just yet because of the payment terms, but it's all but signed. And I mean, this is one of the guys I want. I'll be honest, this is one of the guys I look. He looks about 12 in the picture. You're totally right, he does. I think he is someone. I think he's brilliant. I think he could be a superstar. If you watch a lot of Championship football, I watch quite a bit. He's a superstar in the making. He's a central midfielder. He can operate further forward. He can play in a 10. So he could play in that 10 and give Paquetá the option to drop back into 8, or vice versa. There's that movement there. He can also play on the right wing if need be. So someone like Jared Bowen, for example, that could be quite useful because he's had how many times it's always been Bowen on the right every game. In 38 games for the Championship for Bristol City last season, in 2021, for example, he got 4 goals and 2 assists. He was Young Player of the Year. Young Player of the Year in terms of the EFL awards and in Team of the Year. He's a bit like Grealish, let's be honest, in terms of how he plays. And I think if we can get him in, we've got a good few years with him, and we need to just get this guy going. He's the Guernsey Grealish. West Ham Clits have already got the name. Guernsey Grealish. Would put him in on the 21s for 2 years, says Moyes. I wouldn't be surprised if there's no farewell message for the cat. That's like me and Anton suggested. Would there be a Declan Rice goodbye message? I don't think they would. I generally don't think they would. Might surprise me, but I don't think they would. Can't see us getting Scott unless we move Paquetá, as you won't have the cash. Looks like we're missing out on Corregas as well, as they've dragged our feet. The thing with all the rumours, and I always say that this is the current list of rumours. So it's 80, 75, 1, 2, 3. It's about 83 players we've been linked with. You cannot tell me we have been linked to all of those players. Realistically, or not linked. That's wrong. We have been linked, but you can't tell me that we've had a bid for all those players. We haven't. It's ridiculous. You may have had a bid or be interested in 3 or 4 of them, not 80. That's 4. That's 3 squads worth. 3.5 squads worth. So maybe Victor, maybe we weren't interested in. We don't know. Get him in as a great player. Trouble is, we'll have the cash from Rice. We should do if we haven't spent it already. Get him 5 out of 5. Can see 5 out of 5 in. Alex Scott is our next £100 million player. Having seen Scott play for you, don't generally believe he can get him in. He'll have a massive impact over 5 to 6 years. A bigger impact than 5. Wow, than Rice. Well, okay, fair enough. If they have a pulse and 2 legs, they are linked. That list represents the length of Russy's sausage. I wish Mrs. Bunn would be a lot happier. That's for sure. Russy B has given it the original rumour rating. Has given Alex Scott out of 10. I had to count 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Laurie's asked on TikTok, has Polinia news died down? It certainly has. It certainly has died down. Now, in terms of another player where news has died down until maybe the last 24 hours, it's Harvey Barnes. So with Harvey Barnes, there's been actually Spurs could well, in a roundabout way, have helped us out a little bit in our pursuit for Harvey Barnes, in my humble opinion. So Matt Law, the journalist, has previously claimed the West Ham were leading the race for Harvey Barnes. Spurs were also circling. There was talk of Spurs putting in a deal, a double deal for Maddison originally and Barnes for something like 50 million, which was basically bollocks, wasn't it? Because they ended up spending 40 million on him. Then Leicester have revealed that the Leicester sources revealed that Maddison was their biggest and most lucrative asset. And then the report stated they would demand at least 50 million for Maddison from Spurs. Earlier this week, the Telegraph doubled down on the report on their claims that West Ham are in pole position to sign Barnes. Now, Spurs have done West Ham a favour, in all honesty, as it seems that for someone like, Maddison has gone to Spurs for 40 million quid. He's such a Spurs player, isn't he? He is such a Spurs player, James Maddison, in my opinion. So West Ham are clearly in a fantastic position now to get Barnes, but possibly a lot less than that 40 million, maybe. Maybe 30 million. If the idea was Maddison was their prized asset, it's going to be no more than 40 million. It could be considerably less than 40 million. So I think that would be reasonable. 30, probably about 35 million, I think would probably meet in the middle. I think that's going to be not bad at all. Must get Barnes, more chance of John Barnes. I'll give the old Russy'S Rumour rating 9.5 point. No half points this game. Charles Lee still wants Harvey Barnes. What we got here? Joseph Carey on TikTok says no Ward Prowse. So there we go. No to him. Him and Bone will tear up. They would do. You got Bone on one side, Harvey on the other side. I think that would work very, very well. Arsenal are going to pay us 10 million euro, 10 years buying on top. No, I don't think so. I hope Steynton comes in and quietly just signs players. No rumours, no leaks. The player simply appears in the kit. Done. Exactly. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? Could you remember when we signed Sebastian Haller and he was in this and they tagged him on the end to the purple kit at the end? They just tagged him on. It was quite funny. What we got here? Maddison is a side stalker. Yes, Maddison's made for Spurs, isn't he? Time for 4 now to step in beside Paquetá. Get your finger out, Moyes, you clowns, as Mikey. Rusty B gives Harvey Barnes, in terms of the old Russy'S Rumour rating, the original Rumour rating. Rusty gives it a 8 out of 10. I can see it. This is apparently he's our number one transfer target in terms of our forward targets. We need to get him in. Papa Firth, hope you're well, my friend. Good afternoon to you. Let's move on like Donkey Kong. Let's see who we got next. Who next have we got to talk about? Who next? We've got someone you have never heard of. So West Ham apparently open talks with Torino over a possible deal for Pierre Scholes, with the club already in discussions about the future of Nikola Vlasic this summer. So obviously we're talking to Torino. Torino had Nikola Vlasic on loan for the last year. The sort of the what's the word, the contracts or the clause where they sort of had exclusivity on us for him at a certain cost has gone, so it really, he can go to anyone really, but by all accounts he's done a bit of a Declan Rice and said he only wants to go to Torino, so it's sort of backed into a cul-de-sac really. And apparently we're looking at some of the Torino players. We've also been linked to Amadou Onana, the Torino right back, formerly of Chelsea and Fulham, on a free transfer. But as I said, the report from 90 Minutes suggests that the Hammers are interested in signing the 23-year-old in the transfer window. He's a centre half. He's only really just been at Turin. He was in Ajax's books, and then signed for Torino last June, I think it was June or July, but it seems there's a good chance he could be heading to the Premier League. Reports from Tutu Mercato Web on Monday claim that Palace have made a £21.5 million bid for the youngster. The same report noted that Newcastle, Liverpool and West Ham were all keeping an eye on him. And as we know, the lines of communication between West Ham and Torino are very much open, as they could be some player plus cash deal, maybe with someone like Vlasic plus money for Pierre to come. He's a good player. He's young. He's 23, and so it'll be a very exciting prospect, that's for sure. And the likes of Newcastle and Liverpool sniffing around for him as well. He's not he ain't no mug. I'm gonna give Pierre Roy from TikTok just asked, any news on Alex Scott? We did it right at the beginning, mate. Right at the beginning. I gave Pierre Scores a 6 out of 10. I can see it happening, so I can see there being something, some player plus deal plus money. Pierre shoots, he scores. Very good. Very good. Very good. So I think 6 out of 10 would be a fair number. Newcastle interested in Barnes, but as he said, Newcastle, anyone with a pulse. Skirley's pretty good, solid in Serie A. He hasn't played a lot of Serie A, but he's played well at what's name. He played well at Ajax. Scott and Barnes will cost about $75 together. We mean 75 million. Yeah, that's about right. What we got here in other news, we will be the last holders of the Europa Conference League. Well, yeah, indeed, they're changing it to the UEFA Conference Cup. They certainly are. Ludders is already fed up. News on Alex Scott's. She looked great in red dress. Oh, very funny. Very, very funny. Andy's not fed up with the season already. I think kicked off as well. So that's good to know as well. Anyway, thank you to AFTFC for the rose, whatever that means. Let's move on and talk about another player we've got coming in, or potentially coming in, and that is the Union Berlin striker, Sheraldo Becker. So apparently West Ham, according to the Mirror, have made an inquiry to sign Sheraldo Becker this summer. He had a great season with Union Berlin this season. 11 goals, 7 assists in 32 games. And the Daily Mail reported back in May that the club, Union Berlin, were braced for offers. We actually tried to buy him in January, or if you're led to be believed, we put a link, we put a request him for more information in January. But Sky Sports reporter Florian Plettenberg reported that the Hammers' interest in the player, as well as Fulham and Burnley, who are interested in his services. Fabrizio Romano has also confirmed West Ham's interest with the striker, expecting to seal a big summer move in the transfer window. According to the Mirror, a couple of days ago, Union Berlin have made him available for around 18 million quid as he's entering the final year of his contract. He is 28 though, and he's recently changed agents as well in order to secure a big money move. Not saying Paquetá is trying to secure a big money move, but he's changed agents, is what tends to happen, as well as possessing very, very lightning quick pace. He is a younger version of Antonio, in all honesty. That's why someone like this, I can see something happening. He's 28, so he's coming to the end of he's probably in his peak now. But I mean, Antonio's 33 years old, so you've got 5 years, a 5-year with Becker. He's quick, he's strong, he's agile, good presence, but he's got pace to burn, and that's something which we desperately need in terms of pace in this side. I think and also anything with a German player now, or a player who's played in the Bundesliga, always gets a little bit of an increase in terms of how I like to look at them, because obviously Tim Steinden spent a lot of time, Werder Bremen, by Leverkusen, and so someone like Becker, yes, we've been interested in him before, but I can see it being more likely maybe than before, just because of that. So I'm going to give him a 50-50, because just maybe, as someone said, why are we signing older players? There has to be a balance, I think. We've already got Ings, but Ings doesn't fit in our system. Becker would fit in our system, and maybe move Ings on potentially. Maybe move him on. We'll get a few Germans and German-based players in now. Looks like, indeed, you're totally right. Have Saudi bid 20k for Antonio? No, not yet. Let's hold out. There could be some hope. Let's talk about let's move into League A. We'll move into League A now. And apparently, West Ham are reportedly ready to submit a formal offer for teenage Lille midfielder Carlos Baleba. According to, this is a great French media outlet, Le Voix du Nord. According to Le Voix du Nord, sounds great. Sounds like somewhere you go to a nice restaurant. The Lille starlet Carlos Baleba is firmly on the radar of West Ham, and the West Ham and the East London outfit are ready to submit a £26 million offer for the 19-year-old this transfer window. The report reckons the Hammers are lining this up for the powerful midfielder. I mean, I have done a bit of, because actually I was looking at Lille before because I was looking at Lens as well. So I did a bit of a trawl for League R. This guy's exciting. He's part of the Lille production line where they had Onana. He's taken on the mantle, and we'll talk about Onana a bit later on. He made 19 League Art appearances last season, 5 from the start, so he's still very much in his development time. He's already a Cameroon international, and he's a rough diamond. He's really fucking strong, and would have the physical attributes to definitely succeed in the Premier League, in my opinion. He's very similar to, like, in terms of his energy levels and pace and power, like an Onana, for example. Now, for me, this is one with an eye on the future. I don't think he comes in and walks into the side. Maybe even Alex Scott doesn't come in and walk into the side. Maybe, and they're sort of similar numbers in terms of price. But I just think that there's a little bit more to this one. I could see something happening with this one. Maybe not at that level, but I just think. So let's get a few comments before I go through my views. 28, one good season, and don't see it. I could do. Shit myself every time we try and replace Antonio. We always muck it up, says Freema. Tim Stein starts tomorrow, apparently, because the first is a Saturday. Pretty sure he has an idea he wants. But would love Barnes, Amrabat, and Jonathan David. I think we all would. Sounds like a French. Yeah, Les Voix de Nord? Les Voix de Nord. There we go. The voice of the very good on the old Google Translate. Very good, Scott. Actually, no, you're Canadian, so you speak French already. Expecting a few announcements on the 1st of June. Rice, Steinton, and maybe a signing if we're lucky. I think we need to get a few signings going. Pretty sharpish. So yeah, on TikTok, what's he streaming on? So we're on YouTube, West Ham Network at on the YouTube. So join us for that. And after this, I go and do a little bit more specifically for TikTok afterwards. Given the talk of limited money, I can see us signing any of these 40-50 will be linked with handful. Holly's going to do a show actually about that tomorrow, about FFP and realistically what we can spend on and stuff like that, because I think that's really, really interesting. What's the point when we need first team players? And Fraudy, that's the issue in the moment with Moyes, because Moyes is on a 1-year contract. He's got no impetus. He's got no reason to go for someone like Carlos, because actually he's not going to be here. Crazy. TikTok getting more content? No, not GP. You are not getting not at all. We did my ode to Declan Rice today. We've got Hammers headlines. It's only we do it every so often, mate. Every so often. Hope to see Barnes with someone similar pace and goals alongside Skarmaka. Don't forget we're signing the Irish kid. Yet Sean Moore is apparently from Northern Ireland is coming. We've beaten the likes of Newcastle, Liverpool, United, I think, as well to him. So very exciting. And obviously, hopefully, he goes in the footsteps of other players we've had coming through recently. So, likes of Callum Marshall, Patrick Kelly, people like that. Amrabat be perfect. Amrabat is a great signing. He really, to be honest, with that final, he was all over Declan Rice. Best player on the pitch. So let's see what would I give Carlos? I will give Carlos Blauber a 6 out of 10. 6 out of 10. So yeah, seems to be quite a lot. We do seem to be getting a lot of Northern Ireland talent in terms of just not poaching, but it's a hotbed, and we've got loads of people out there. We've got the likes of George McCarthy, big, he does a lot with Northern Ireland, a lot of these, and we've had like Jerry O'Brien's in Ireland with Shamrock Rovers, and so there is always been a West Ham connection out there. Anyway, let's crack on like Donkey Kong. Let's talk about Jonathan Tah. Big fan of Jonathan Tah. Big fan of him. He's a big. He's the one I want He's the one I want. He's the one I want. Ooh, 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 honey. So apparently West Ham reportedly favourites to sign the German international centre back, and it is possibly one of Tim Steinden's first signings. According to a report from Kicker, West Ham are leading the race to sign Jonathan Tah from Bayer Leverkusen for around 15 million quid, an absolute fucking bargain in my opinion. And this is due to the impending arrival of Tim Steinden as our technical director. Tim knows him very well from his time at Bayer Leverkusen, and Kicker claimed that the relationship between him and Jonathan is so strong and puts West Ham in the front row to sign the 27-year-old centre-back in the summer transfer window. So this one, to me, has legs. I think this one's got real legs, and he would be brilliant, and we need him. We need him because we're going to get someone like Zuma's always going to be injured. Zuma will be injured for at least a quarter of a season every year. And you can't rely on then moving Agad to the right side of the centre-back position, bringing Oggy on. It just doesn't work. Or Tilo Kier. I think you need a first-choice centre-half, and he would be that. He would be brilliant. Last year, 33 Bundesliga appearances, 1.2 interceptions, 3.5 clearances, 1.7 aerial duels. He's 6'5" as well. So he's tall. He would be our tallest centre back as well. 89% completion pass rates, physically imposing, dominating in the air. And if we've got a chance to sign 15 million quid, we shouldn't even think about it. We shouldn't even think about it. Tim needs to hopefully get this one straight over the line. Straight over the line, definitely. And at 27, similar age to Zuma, similar to age Agad, with the three of them, that's, for me, that'll be moving forward. Like Winston Reid, yeah, good shout. Yeah, unit indeed. What we got here? Where does he fit? Zuma. As I said, I think Zuma gets injured again. Will be at the AFCONs as well. There'll always be. Don't forget, the last 2 seasons we've walked in with 4 centre backs, and halfway through the season we've ended up with about 1.5. We end up putting Cresswell left back and stuff like that. This is an area we need to improve on. 27. Well, I mean, Zuma's 27. Again's 26, 27 as well. So not really. I mean, you look at, if we're looking at, we're not talking about Harry Maguire today, but Harry Maguire's 30, and he could probably have another couple of seasons. Dawes was 32 when he was probably playing best for us. AFCON indeed for Agad. I'd say Tar to Jonathan. Very good. Gives us a strong back 3 options as well. I want that Japanese fella to screen out, Tanakoi, Ao Tanakao, 2.5 million quid midfielder. Brilliant. Why are we travelling all the way to Oz? To say hello to our Australian fans. And for money. That's it. Tar is a solid player. Thoughts on Alex Webby free transfer? Yeah, good shout. Any news on who will be coming in as Moyes number 2? No news at all. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. Great interview from Gio on Hammer's Chat. If you haven't seen it, go and watch it. The trip to Oz was set up pre-COVID, then got postponed. There we go. I think Zuma is done in terms of reliability. When Zuma plays, he's brilliant, but he only plays 70% of the season, isn't it? In all honesty. Jonathan Tah, I'm going to give Jonathan Tah a 8 out of 10. 8 out of 10. I think this guy's mustard. I think this guy is proper mustard, and I think he will improve our centre backs options very substantially. Let's talk about Denis Zakaria. Denis Zakaria, another name we've been linked with heavily over the last sort of week or so. We did a little profile about who he was in terms of his playing style when his time at Leverkusen and Juventus and Chelsea. So go and check that out on the West Ham Network YouTube channel. But apparently we have submitted an initial offer, according to Tutto Juve, for Denis Zakaria, which is around, apparently our opening offer is £13 million. And we say, we were fucked off with Arsenal for lowballing people. Apparently Juventus want at least 17 million quid. We've gone at 13 million quid. But apparently we do face competition for Denis's signature from the Champions League qualifying side RC Lens, according to the article in Tutto Juve. Fabrizio Romano came out last week and said that we were linked with him, but I said we are now heavily linked with Well, he is also heavily linked with the league runners-up in terms of Lens. Now, they obviously qualifying for Champions League puts them maybe in a stronger position than West Ham, maybe not in terms of wages, but in terms of European football. Or, of course, we're in Europa League. But I think the ironic thing is the reason why Lens are on the peripherals is because another former linked West Ham rumour, Siko Fofana, who played for long, apparently he's going to the Saudi League. So they're looking at Zakaria as Fofana's replacement. Not Youssef Fofana from Monaco, but Siko Fofana from Lens. Are you keeping it? I hope you're keeping it, up to date with this. I mean, Zakaria had a bit of a rough time at Chelsea. He got injured, and would have done a lot better. But the injury started off really well his time at Chelsea. Then he got injured. Juventus, not really. I mean, his best time was at Bayer Leverkusen. Again, Bundesliga side. He spent several years at Bayer Leverkusen. Not Leverkusen, sorry, Borussia Mönchengladbach. But obviously, Tim was at Bayer Leverkusen, so dots are getting joined. So I think he's very good. Eva Essex boys got his tickets for Spurs versus West Ham in Perth. Well done, son. Zakaria would be a smart purchase, workhorse in midfield. I think if we can get him for 15 million quid, I think that's absolute bargain. He's 26. And, if he could recapture any form that he had, particularly at Borussia Mönchengladbach, then I think you've got a hell of a player. Alan says, I've got flights, accommodation, tickets for both games booked. Can't wait. Good luck, Alan. And he can play centre back as well as midfield, indeed. He went to Juventus. He was on a free transfer. He's out of contract at Borussia Mönchengladbach. So I was surprised. So I would have liked us to have put a bid in for him, but we didn't. Lukaku turned down the Saudi Pro League, did they? Oh, fair play. Zakaria, I think, I'm going to put 6 out of 10, just because the whole Lens thing slightly gets me a bit worried. Slightly. And let's talk about the last player on this list, and that is Amadou Onana. What's his name? Onana. You've got to say it. You just have to say it. You just have to sing it. But apparently Everton are willing to sell the midfielder in the summer transfer window. West Ham and Everton fought over the signing of Onana back in the summer last year. Toffees came in at 11th hour to beat the Hammers to what was at the time a £33 million signing. And I mean, he looked all set for West Ham. He looked set. Yeah, we done all we need to know about Onana, things like that. That was all sorted. And we done the videos, but Everton came in, offered basically he wanted, by all accounts, guarantees, a greater guarantee of a starting spot in the side, and also more money as well. And the money bit was handled by his sister, who's his agent, apparently. And Moisey didn't give him that reassurance. So Moisey apparently pulled the plug on the move. Since he's been at Everton, I think, he's been very good. Well, I was very impressed when he came to when it was Everton. Well, in fact, Frank was in charge and brought him to Everton in terms of London Stadium. I thought he played very, very well. He's gangly. He's a tall lad, but he can play. He definitely can play. He's got the power. He's got the pace, and he's got the engine. Now he's lost his place in the side since Sean Dyche came in, and that's sort of turned him a little bit. Whereas Frank sort of guaranteed him first team football, new manager came in, isn't guaranteeing him it. Also, Everton are up shit creek without a paddle in terms of FFP. And again, listen to Holly's show she does tomorrow morning. It explains West Ham's position in terms of FFP. And apparently the Blues are looking to sell some of their big names in order to level the books, basically. And also in terms of wages to income, they're on something like 95% of Everton's income goes to player wages, and I think we're the best, just behind Brentford, second best in terms of income to player wages. So it means we've got a little bit of wiggle room there. So at the weekend, it was reported that Moyes is serious about bringing him back, about going back in for him, and Everton are willing to sell at the right price. Now, what I think is really interesting about Onana is it gives me Naya Figueiredo vibes. So 2 years ago, we were looking at Kurt Zouma and we was looking at Naya Figueiredo. We decided to buy Kurt Zouma. Naya Figueiredo, I think, signed a new contract with Rennes. The following year, we went back in and got Ged. So once Moisey sees something he likes, he wants to get him. This gives me the same vibes. We were looking at central midfielder, and we had Onana scouted. We also had Paquetá scouted. So we went and got Paquetá. I think this year we go and get Onana. I really do. For me, when you're looking at, I think he's randomly less of a risk than Denis Zakaria, despite probably being about 3 times more money, because he's got Premier League experience already. Now, I appreciate Dennis played a little time for Chelsea, but Onana has had a whole season. He's 21, so he's 5 years younger. He has got bags of potential, already a Belgian international, defensively excellent, and can do that sort of driving forward, which Dec does. I'm not saying he's a Declan Rice replacement, but what I'm saying is he has certain qualities which make him a very useful player. He's also exerted at the age of 21 a real sense of leadership in the side. He's very, he does command, because I think maybe because physically he's so big, a real respect. And for someone so young, very similar to Declan Rice, you can see you can sort of tick boxes, and he's dominant in the air. So and he's got a bit more height on top of him. I think he is 6'4" or 6'5". He's very, very tall, very, very tall. And so if Everton want 40 million, I thought 40 million is a bargain. I really do. If we bought him for 33, they're only going to make a £7 million profit. If they're lucky if they get that, to be honest. Not sure why in these days it's become so hard to scout players who want to come to West Ham, not just big names. Trini, I think the fact is we haven't had the scouting set up to do that properly. Now, for me, Tim comes in. We know Tim's a real data guy. He's a real data geek. He loves looking in the data. So I think he comes in and makes a massive difference in terms of our scouting. They use statistics, not just like XG or pass completion, but like goes into. There was even once where I think Bayern Munich were looking at doing by Leverkusen rather. It was something like human interaction technology, so they could see how many times the midfielder would actually be looking up, so looking around him and shit like that. Mental, but that's what you sort of need. G on Twitter is no John Wonker indeed. I think, it reminds me of, Kent, definitely. A Checky Coyote, Sell Big Tom, him and Zakaria and JWP if the price is under 30 million. JWP, I was all for him. Now I'm sort of, I think, I don't know if I want him now. I'll be honest, Kent, be honest. I think Onana and Zakaria and Paquetá, that 3, nice. I like that. And then maybe Freddie around, Flynn still around, Fornau still around. I think that's enough for us. I think it'd be a hell of an improvement. What I like about Nana is I think he Checky Coyote, a little bit of Alex Song about him as well. A bit of Mark Vivian Foe, that big physically dominating midfielder, which the likes of, I look at Vieira and Yaya Toure and people like that would be great. Fits the boot, fits the shoe. I want Amrabat over Onana, but he would definitely shot in midfield. Oh, I think, yeah, but if you got Amrabat and Onana, fucking hell, Onana would be like that girl you liked, but she liked someone else. Then the other guy was a jerk, so she settled with you, mate. In today's football, people tell their nose to Onana wanting not to come to us last year because they offered him more money. You wouldn't go to do the same job that you're doing if someone offered you less money, would it? Surely that's the way it works. And Onana will be even better than Rice. I think he will. I think he will be. And he's got the physicality. But hey ho, we're not bitter. Peps is the best free kick taker. He was, but for me, what's that? I'm going to just pause that and come back to that. I think with him, he's just. I think that's all he does in terms of JWP's free kicks. And I think we've got enough there. I like Philip Billingham, great shout, naturally left-footed on the left hand, and Zakaria and Jonathan David. Philip, yeah, good player. Alex Song was different class. Hope he's as good as him. He was good, Alex, wasn't he? And I remember the story. So I remember turning. This is the only time I remember a transfer being that sort of secretive. We had. It was just, we'd literally signed him that night or the night before, and we were playing a game. Can't remember who the side was. I can't remember, but I went into our little pre-match briefing. And they said, right, we signed Alex Song. Don't tell anyone. We signed Alex Song. I was like, fucking hell, it's a great sign. We're going to get him on the pitch. We've had to do it really secretly, so no one else will get him on loan. Spurs sniffing around. And so we actually sneaked him in. Brilliant. Like proper what was it? Like a proper like spy movie type thing. It was brilliant. Who do you think... How do you think Moyes will adjust to Tim's new West Ham 2.0 policy? Well, by all accounts, Moyes has been involved in this recruitment. He's interviewed Tim. He's had chats with Tim, and he's signed off on it. Well, it's not his job, the person to sign it off would be David Sullivan and people like that, and Kuczynski. But apparently he is giving it his blessing. I think it's going to be interesting to see the dynamic of him and Rob Newman and Mark Noble in terms of who does what. But that might give Mark some more time to develop. I can see Mark taking a more of a academy transition pathway role, which I think for me is where he's best suited to. Learning from Tim for sure, then maybe eventually taking over as director of football. I think that would be the pathway for Mark Noble. But it's the way the world's going now in terms of having a technical director in, and we're light years ahead of or behind the likes of Brighton and Brentford, and we need to be there. That's how Brighton can sell McAllister and sell potentially Caicedo, and they've got the next two lined up, and they'll still have a good season next year. That's what we need. Sanya for PSV would be my Rice. Yeah, Sanya is an awesome player, Ibrahim Sanya, I'd love him. Philip Bingham has more Premier League goals than Rice this season, playing for a lesser side, taller, and like I said, left-footed. Russ, you really need to look at the strikers. I think Skamaka wants that, and Antonio has come to the end of his road for us. Peter, Antonio could do one. I just want him out. Skamaka, I still think there's a hope. So I don't think anyone will pay for him. I don't think they'll pay the 35 million we're asking. So he's just come back from injury as well. I can see him if he does. I can see him staying, and if it doesn't work out or he's not getting game time, leaves in January. But that's just me. Thank you, Ken. Well done. Yeah, Southampton 2004. God, mate. God, almost 10 years ago. Mental. Interesting times. Hope we aren't in mid-August hoping and wishing we could sign anyone. Indeed. That's why ideally I'd have wanted the Rice stuff to be finished a week ago, 10 days ago to give. But it's coming into the period just when Tim starts work, hopefully. So that's a good thing. He's coming with money, hopefully, to spend. But obviously, listen to Holly's show tomorrow. She goes through like an idiot's guide of FFP and West Ham and FFP. Really interesting stuff. Paquetá will leave. Moyes staying could mean an excess of talent. If Skamaka stays, then Moyes is on his way out, says Michael. It's funny. I've heard conflicting things about him and his relationship with David Moyes and Skamaka, but you're really interested to see what happens. What's your reason for Antonio? I agree with you. Just want to see your side. I just think I don't like players who criticise current players. Yeah, we do need to get a Holly emoji. You're right. I don't like. I don't agree with. I love listening to the Peter Crouch podcast. I love it. I don't mind players coming on and doing bits on podcasts, but when you start, you never slag off your own team. You don't, even if he's trying to do it in the best possible light. So he plays, Skamaka plays in a different way to David Moyes, and you don't do it. You don't do it. That stuff needs to be behind. It's like wrestling, like kayfabe, they call it. That's it. And I think he's ruffled a lot of feathers internally, particularly with the filthy fellas bit. I think he's rubbed up the wrong way. Any news, new sponsors possible? No news at all. Or even the kit would be nice. Correguez has been talked about. We haven't really spoken about much. I think there's. I mean, Sporting Lisbon seems to be in the driving seat. But then wouldn't you want to go to, if you had a choice, you lived in Coventry, would you rather go to Portugal, go to Lisbon, or would you rather go to Stratford? Get me on that plane now. In terms of Harvey Barnes, how confident are you that he makes our team better? Oh, 100% confident. Straight away he frees up Ben Rama to play as a 10 if he wanted to, gives us that option, and just gives us something down the left pace in terms of breakaways. Breakaways tend to be on the right hand side. It tends to be from Bowen breaking through, but him and Barnes doing it on either side would be really, really good. And Moyes would probably, I wouldn't be surprised if he'd employ him. Sometimes he's done it with Bowen where he puts him more up front. I could see him doing the same with Harvey as well. I think he's stocky enough to do it. Scumacker's had a great chance. He never got has to get a chance. He never really got a chance. I totally agree. And he got injured about 10 games, deep minutes. And as Kevin Nolan says, for me, Scumacca isn't the person that I think the person on the pitch is different from the person off the pitch, and that's taking time to adjust. GP says Anton, Russ, Stato, Jake are worse. Is that worse or better than Charlie from? I never know my crocodile. I think that means better. Just go from TikTok. Thank you, W. I'm going to go back on TikTok in a minute. Anyway, thanks for coming over. And make sure you subscribe if you're new. We're almost hitting 20,000 subscribers. It'll be mental if we can hit that by the weekend. I think we're about 60 away. So have a look down there, because sometimes they take out. Sometimes they sort of unsubscribe you. So if they could subscribe you, let us know. Just if it's grey, it means you're subscribed. It means red, it means you're not subscribed. Or if you really want to help us, look down there and the join button and become a channel member and get entered into loads of stuff. Made it really simple in terms of channel membership. One membership, one fee, job done. Anyway, my thing on Onana, I've given Onana 8 out of 10 because I think that one can see that one happening. Right, a few more comments and I've got to shoot. Glad Moyes stays as the better player would have left. Glad Moyes stayed as the better player would have left. Okay, Russ will be watching Wimbledon. If you don't rain, I will do. I'll watch the British ones, and I like sort of when the legends play. It's always quite funny. Antonio's coming to the end of his career anyway. Let him have a last payday at QPR or Child. I could see him going to Forest, going back to where he started, and we'll probably get money for him, I reckon. I was the one on TikTok that asked if you would remember a player called Keith Coleman. I don't remember him, Tom, because I was only born in 1981, but I'm well aware of Keith Coleman. And if great player. More than aware of him. Antonio stayed at West Ham. I would have sold him in January. Me too, mate. Me too, Kim. See the Saudis going. Good shout. Will Fabianski still be Moyes' new Unio? I don't think this year. Top goal scorer, but just don't. He has a purple patch, and he has a purple patch every year. And until he's had a real sort of little, he was shit for quite a lot. When Scarmacca came in, you realise what movement of a striker should be like, and we didn't get it. They get him. Let's go for a few more. If Cornet could time his runs, he would make a good striker. See, I get good at Cornet, Kent, as well. I just think how many times he's been in a situation, he hasn't played a lot of football, granted, but when he goes in those one-on-ones, he fluffs them all the time. And on our worth 45 million, we bet for us and Rice. I think it could be. I think it could be in terms of not as an individual player, but I think in terms of the team. That money, that £100 million can be invested in a lot. Chris Reason too, in case you forgot you were saying Rice C. I know, Chris. Looking back at Skamacka's goals, not many, but most were great. You're totally right. Majority of us here remember the good old 1950s GP, okay? My granddad, he's my granddad. I've got a shirt. I saw you had, that's why I asked. Tom, is he still with you? Is he still alive? Tom, drop me an email, westhamnetwork@gmail. I'd love to have a chat with him. We interviewed loads of players, over 100, and actually some of Keith's probably teammates, definitely, if he's still with us. But yeah, no, we had a Keith Robson on and people like that. So please, drop me an email. I'd love to have a chat with him, mate. I'm old enough to remember Keith Coleman. Indeed, lovely to see. All I see when Skamacka played was the press disappear. Yeah, but the thing is, I just think for me, if we'd get someone like I'd love to see Skamaka play in that 10 role. When he was at Sassuolo, him and Raspadori played 10 and 9 and interchanged, and it was really good. And I think with someone like a Becker, maybe even someone like Victor Correges from Coventry, if he doesn't go to Lisbon, him and Skamaka would be your Raspadori and Skamaka, and then you've got someone like Paquetá there, and I think it'd be good. When we played at Fulham, Antonio out and out quit on players. He does, yeah. What do you think? Hey, Aldi, 8-year-old. What do players think about Moyes' style? Is it off-putting? Some it would be, some it wouldn't be, innit? Some will, some won't, mate. Russ, most of our players fluff it at one point. Yeah, but he just does it, you know what I mean? Is Rice a legend? Not for Nick, I know Nick. Is he a legend? No. Will he go down in history? Yes. He'll always be. He was, I think he's played 250 odd appearances, so that probably puts him in the top 100, maybe of all time players at West Ham in terms of games. But I just don't think he's. I don't think you can call him a legend. I don't think you can call him a legend. I think you can call him a good player. I think a player who played, for a long time at West Ham. He was 200. I think he's at 250. So Cresswell was 283. Where is Declan Rice? So Declan Rice currently is 245 appearances. Sorry, how many years? 3 years in a row. 3 years. So that's good. And play. So he's 55th. He's just in front of James Tompkins, just below Pop Robson. I don't think he's a legend. I think he'll always be well remembered, but I think so. But it's struggle to see him because he lives in, and the age is always sleeping during it. Doesn't matter. No worries, mate. No worries. If he's up for it, let me know. And we can do something online, or next time you see him or whatever. Just let me know, Tom. Russ, in regards to Skamaka unit, thank you very much. Scott, look, we did against. Let's go for here. What we got the day? Rice kisses the good as badge. He's gone. Is being a legend about number of games? What about Di Canio? Is Di Canio a legend? I think that's. Do you know? I think that's a really interesting debate. I think that should be our next mass debate topic. What constitutes a legend? I think number of games should do, because I wouldn't say Carlos Tevez was a legend. Di Canio, how many games did Di Canio play? This is a fact. It's a great. I think that's a good topic, mate. I'm going to do that as a thought piece. Well done. Have a look. How many? If winning stuff makes you a legend, then yes. Then someone like Declan Rice should be considered a legend. But is Di Canio a legend? Is Di Canio a legend? Interesting. If he's a legend, what constitutes a legend? I mean, Di Canio played 137 times, scored 51 goals. Antonio's scored more goals than him. But is he an icon? Is he a cult hero? Good. Oh, this is good. I'm looking forward to this one. I think this is gonna be good. I'm gonna have a good old chat about this. Keep an eye out for the channel. We'll do that. I mean, he's played. I mean, Antonio. I mean, you think Di Canio played 140 games, 51 goals. Someone like Antonio's played 276 games for West Ham, scoring 75 goals. He's also our number one Premier League goal scorer of all time. Is he a legend then? It's interesting, isn't it? What is a legend? Or everyone has a different opinion of what a legend is. Trini's 100% a legend. Not just the amount of games, attitude towards the club, and genuine love for the club. So Carlos. So what about Carlos Tevez? Brooking and Bonds both left the club. Well, Brookie didn't leave. Brookie's a one-man club, isn't he? One-man player. Bobby Moore. We call Bobby Moore a legend. Bobby Moore went to play for Fulham, and they remember when Peters was looking at going to Spurs, he was potentially looking to move on elsewhere. Interesting. And on that bombshell, I'm going to have a think about that. Guys, look, thank you very much for your time. We'll be back at the on YouTube. We're back later on with the Hammers headlines and all that good stuff. But if you're new, Andy, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, give it a subscribe. Thank you very much. And we'll see you guys very, very soon. Take care, my friends. Bye.